A Facebook post from a police officer who is black, a police officer in the United States, brought to my attention by Juliet Akinyi Ochieng. I remember the countless times I canvassed the area afterwards and asked everyone, "Did you see who did it?" And the popular response from the very same family members was always, "Fuck the police, I ain't no snitch. I'm going to take care of this myself." This happened every single time. Every single homicide. Black on black. And then my realization became clearer. I woke up every morning, put my freshly pressed uniform on, shined my badge, function checked my weapon, kissed my wife and kid, and waited for my wife to say the same thing she always does before I leave. "Make sure you come back home to us," I always replied. "I will." But the truth was, I was never sure if I would. I almost lost my life on this job. And every call, every stop, every moment that I had this uniform on was another possibility for me to almost lose my life again. I was a target in the very community I swore to protect, the very community I wanted to help. As a matter of fact, they hated my very presence. They called me Uncle Tom and wannabe white boy, and I couldn't understand why. My own fellow black men and women attacking me, wishing for my death, wishing for the death of my family. I was so confused, so torn. I couldn't understand why my own black people would turn against me, when every time they called, I was there. Every time someone died, I was there. Every time they were getting through one of the worst moments of their lives, I was there. So why was I the enemy? I dove deep into that question. Why was I the enemy? Then my realization became clearer. Complaint. Police always targeting us. They always messing with the black man. Fact. A city where the majority of citizens are black, Baltimore for example, will always have a higher rate of black people getting arrested. It will always have higher rates of blacks getting stopped, and will always have a higher rate of blacks getting killed. And the reason why is because a city with those characteristics will always have a higher rate of blacks committing crime. The statistics will follow the same trend for Asians if you go to China, for Hispanics if you go to Puerto Rico, for whites if you go to Russia, and the list goes on. It's called demographics. Complaint. More black people get arrested than white boys. Fact. Black people commit a grossly disproportionate amount of crime. Data from the FBI shows that nationwide, blacks committed 5,173 homicides in 2014. Whites committed 4,367. Chicago's death toll is almost equal to that of both wars in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Chicago's death toll from 2001, November 26, 2015, stands at 7,401. The combined total deaths during Operation Iraqi Freedom 2003 to 2015, 4,815. And Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan, 2001 to 2015, 3,506. Total, 8,321. The numbers are comparable. Complaint. Blacks are the only ones getting killed by police, or they are killed more. Fact. As of July 2016, the breakdown of the number of U.S. citizens killed by police this year is 238 white people killed, 123 black people killed, 79 Hispanics, 69 other or unknown race. Fact. Black people kill more other blacks than police do, and there are only protest and outrage when a cop kills a black man. University of Toledo criminologist Dr. Richard R. Johnson examined the latest crime data from the FBI's supplementary homicide reports and Centers for Disease Control and found that an average of 4,472 black men were killed by other black men annually between January 1st, 2009 and December 31st, 2012. Professor Johnson's research further concluded that 112 black men died from both justified and unjustified police-involved killings annually during this time period. Complaint. Well, we're already doing a good job of killing ourselves. We don't need the police to do it. Besides, they should know better. The more I listened, the more I realized. The more I researched, the more I realized. I would ask questions. I would only get emotional responses and inferences based on no facts at all. The more killing I saw, the more tragedy, the more savagery, the more violence, the more loss of life of a black man at the hands of another black man, the more I realized. I haven't slept well in the last few nights. Heartbreak weighs me down. Rage flows through my veins, and tears fill my eyes. I watched my fellow officers assassinated on live television, and the images of them lying on the ground are seared into my brain forever. I couldn't help but wonder if it had been me, a black man, a black cop on TV, assassinated, lying on the ground dead. Would my friends and family still think Black Lives mattered? Would my life have mattered? Would they make T-shirts in remembrance of me? Would they go on TV and protest violence? Would they even make a Facebook post or share a post in reference to my death? I realize that they refuse to believe that most cops acknowledge that there are bad cops who should never have been given a badge and gun, who are chicken shit and will shoot a cockroach if it crawls at them too fast, who never worked in the hood and may be intimidated, that most cops dread the thought of having to shoot someone and never see the turmoil and mental anguish that a cop goes through after having to kill someone to save his own life. Instead, they believe that we are all bloodthirsty killers because the media says so. And even though the numbers prove otherwise, I realize they truly feel as if the death of cops will help people realize the false narrative that Black Lives Matter, when all it do is take their movement 2 steps backwards and label them domestic terrorists. I realized that some of these people who say Black Lives Matter are full of hate and racism. Hate for cops because of the false narrative that more black people are targeted and killed. Racism against white people for a tragedy that began hundreds of years ago when most of the white people today weren't even born yet. I realized that some in the African American community's idea of justice is the prosecution of any and every cop or white man that kills or is believed to have killed a black man, no matter what the circumstances are. I realized the African American community refuses to look within to solve its major issues, and instead makes excuses and looks outside for solutions. I realized that a lot of people in the African American lead with hate instead of love, division instead of unity, turmoil and rioting instead of peace. I realized that they have become the very entity that they claim they're fighting against. I realized that the very reasons I became a cop are the very reasons my own people hate me. And now, in this toxic, hateful, racially charged political climate, I am now more likely to die, and it is still hard for me to understand. To this day, Officer Stalin.